have been countless times where people have counted rock and roll out, counted heavy metal out. When hip hop was first sampling guitars, they thought that was going to be the end of it. When EDM rose, they thought that was like there's something so visceral and so powerful and important about the air moving from a Marshall stack with an electric guitar that it's like it's powerful, it's sexy, it's liberating. You're never going to get rid of that as long as people want to be powerful, sexy, and liberated.
It says things, it expresses things that you can relate to, that anger, that frustration, that sadness. That's why I love heavy music. That's why I love extreme music, for the message and for the feeling it gives you. It's good therapy, man. It doesn't surprise me at all. And as far as like the state of heavy music now, it's great. Younger bands coming out, we're doing great, man. Heavy music is doing just fucking fine.
Rock and metal will always have its peaks and valleys of sorts, but it will always sustain and maintain. And you know, I think that we've kind of gotten used to being the bastard stepchild. It's okay. We kind of like it that way. It gives us something to keep struggling against.
I think that metal is doing just as well as it always does. Sometimes it gets more popular in periods and less popular, but there's always an undercurrent of people who the style resonates with on such a deep level that it was always creative. It was always some of the greatest metal that was ever released was released during the grunge era. It's just that no one in the mainstream paid attention.
It's very much alive, and I think that statistic comes from people migrating from other media consumption platforms to streaming and downloading. I still wouldn't have expected that, but I think fastest growing implies that it hasn't been as big as it is now a couple years ago, which makes sense. So, yeah, we're in a state of transit, I guess.
That we will be the flavor of the month for a while, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to give even more young people opportunity to be exposed to it and see who will end up picking up a guitar for themselves and or feel empowered by it. You know, metal is always doing fine creatively, and for now it's commercially, and then it's going to go out of style again, like everything else. But unlike disco, it will never truly die.
I think it's all relative, right? I think it's the fastest growing because y'all let it die. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, what? Like,
Definitely.
like, no, I'm being serious. Like, that's what it is, right? I mean, it was like it ruled the world for so long because it was dangerous, it was confronting, it was exciting, and then we kind of just became stagnant and we let it kind of sterilize itself, or we wanted more safety in rock and roll, which was never safe to begin with, born out of adversity. So relatively, sure, I'm sure that shit is growing really fast.
A lot of people say, you know, that's out of fashion, you know? I don't think so. You know, you make enough bribes, enough payola, paid vacations, stuff like that. People, you know, buy the records, you know what I mean? And sometimes we don't even have to worry about them buying the records. We'll just buy them ourselves. So it looks like people are interested in what we're doing, you know? So, yeah, I think between the strength of payola and, you know, a couple cool riffs here and there, we'll be fine. Heavy metal, rock will be okay. Don't worry about it.
You know, metal fans, there's a huge difference between people that love that genre and everybody else in the world, because especially coming from us just kind of being on the front lines and touring, is that these are the type of people that they're not coming to the show for entertainment. They're not coming to the show just because they got nothing better to do. They're saving up, they're buying the ticket, they're staying in the front row for 12 hours in order to like scream for their favorite band because they primally need to be there. And I know that it's the same for us. Like, music is our therapy, it's our life, it's an extension of who we are, and that is the mentality of rock and metal fans. And so it's absolutely not surprising that it was the fastest growing
at all. Like that statistic's like, makes perfect sense.
Absolute perfect sense.
Man, my first reaction when I saw those stats was yes. And it was also, to be honest, it was something that I wasn't surprised about. Like, it's really, the really weird thing for me has been hearing like, rock is dead, the genre's dying, everything's shrinking back, no one's paying attention to us, blah, 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 blah. And then rocking up to like festivals and gigs and like seeing the reaction that fans have and seeing the fact that how can Dead be millions of people?
People are rabid for it worldwide. I mean, I've said this before, I'll say it again. The largest festivals in the world are rock festivals. They just are. and metal is a big part of that.
The amount of people that I see actively involved and passionate about hard rock and punk and metal is like, is this what you call death of music? For me, it seems like it's absolutely raging. So the reaction for me is more like, oh, finally someone's actually putting numbers to this shit, because I kind of figured that for a long time. It's just been more the fact that there's been a disconnect between what people want to see as big and the reality of the amount of people that come to these shows and care about this music.
You know, we just did a tour over in Europe supporting a band called Architects, and in the UK we played Wembley Arena, and like there are massive metal shows going on, and to hear that there's some statistics backing it up that it's growing is just extremely exciting.
Like, it's a lifestyle. It's not, they're not listening to the pop radio and attaching to it in the same way they do to heavy metal.
I think that heavy music in general is as diverse as it's ever been. I think heavy music as a term has been shifted into a different dynamic. Like, you have someone like Emma Ruth Rundle, right? Unbelievably heavy in spirit, in just kind of this beautiful sonic atmosphere, but you wouldn't have considered it in the realm of metal, like, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever.
I think that people put too much emphasis and too much care and thought into what is popular and wanting to bring back what they used to like and not liking what pop music has become and what alternative music has become. Like, who cares? There are so many great bands and so many great songs being written. Who cares if the majority of people like them or are consuming them or if the radio is playing them? What difference does it make? You have Spotify, like, go find it and play it. Go to their show. You'll probably see a smaller, more intimate, cooler show anyway. Like, I'm an advocate for rock staying underground. Let's keep it small, it's cooler.
You look at tattoos, for example, and the same thing happened where once the stigma was kind of losing its effect, everyone started getting tattooed. Once reality TV caught on to the tattoo thing, everyone's like, oh, these aren't bad anymore. Okay, cool. Same thing with metal. I think everyone's finally starting to understand that it's this beautiful expression of music. It's not necessarily this crazy, just demonic blah, blah that all the grandmothers thought it was.
The fan base is one of the most loyal, least fickle of any of the fan bases in existence. And that loyalty, that steadfastness is a huge part of the longevity of the genre and how it continues to grow, it continues to spread.